Quite looks in it. Right. Very sophisticated, Alison. Definitely from the train. You're definitely up with the technology there. That's all right, Anne. I don't know whether you can hear me at this stage. I don't know whether people can hear me, so I'd better stay quiet just in case they can. I keep seeing an advert for Spennymoor, some kind of company set up a broadband. They probably say it in Firial or whatever as well, but I've paid for extra broadband to do this, but it still goes wrong at times. So we're getting near to working. Oh, you can hear me. Good. I better not say anything about you then. So that's what we're going to be doing, the pastels. I've got them all set. The violets, there's the violets. I might not put violets. Do you get violets? No. So there, yes. So we are just waiting for the countdown to start. I've got to do it properly, you know. Got to do it properly. So I've got my pastels set up, my Turry Ludwigs, my Blue Earth, and this is a mixture of Unison and Senneliers, a bit of everything in here. Hard ones, they're Sennelia, quite hard. Still got dust off them, but you know, these softer ones are all like the Unison pastels, very soft. And they are Turry Ludwigs, same sort of make. The chalk comes off dead easy. So what I've got below me, because Lynn's just insisted, is a big plastic thing on the floor, because last time I did pastels I walked them all over the place. So I've got a big plastic bit on the floor which I'll have to just adhere to. Anyway, let's get nearly getting ready to start. Counting down, 7, 6. Here we go. Right. Right. Ready to start. Here I am. So yes, so Alison on the train using modern technology, eh? Ah, some people are clever. Can you show it to all the other passengers while you're on? So yes, we're going to do a pastel, and I might lose you at some point. Yeah, that's appreciated. I have other people. What I didn't realise till somebody told me this morning, when I'm doing it live from here, I have people just over the road in Sam's Air's Cafe sit and watch on their iPhones through Facebook while they having a coffee, etc. So I've got quite a few people watching from different sources when we do it up here live. So we're going to do that sort of moors one in snow. It's not going to be bright snow. I don't want it to be a bright snow scene. I want it to be a winter's feel to the sky and everything. So it's going to be evening, but it's not going to be bright sunset. It's going to be down, and I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to put the landscape higher up as on the photograph, and a lot of snow down here. I think it'll look quite nice. So we'll probably go through a white pastel quite easy. So I shall get started. I've got Ken. If I don't notice it, because I've got to look right over here. So morning, Ken. Yeah, I'll just try and move it in a bit so that I can see you. What I've had to do actually is move the laptop farther away from the pastels totally, because I was getting chalk all over that MacBook, and Joan wouldn't be happy after I paid the money I did for it. Right, so let's get started. I'll switch to this camera here, which is closer in, so that I'm not, because I'll be in the road if I'm doing that. So I'm going to switch to that, and I'll try and put the pastel picture on. So I'm turning that camera so that there you can see the full screen there now. This little bit of brightness is because I've got a skylight just up to the left up here, and I can't block it out. So you should be able to see a little bit of the pastels up in the top if you want them. So what I'm going to do is block in the sky, and like I said, I want to keep it high, block in the buildings and the wall. There's a few little farmhouse buildings down in the snow there, but I'm not too bothered about them. It's just a distraction. I'm just going to drag a bit of snow through there. So I'm going to work the sky down. I'll tell you what, I'll just use a little chalk. Just a little chalk, just to sort of mark the area where I want. So I want these buildings to be sort of here-ish, like this. So just into here, these sort of farm buildings. And I'm doing it more abstract, so it's not going to be a major work of art. It's going to be broken and loose. So that's going to be sort of the landscape of the buildings. There's an outbuilding just there. I'm not putting all neat little windows in. There's the little farm building just there, like that. And then you've got this wall coming down. So you've got a wall coming down here, just sort of running off the picture. And then you've got a snowy hill just in the distance over there, right in the distance, and then darker landscape coming down. If you remember when we've done the watercolours of Bishop's Close Farm, we have the background of the dales coming across there, and we drag them in. And then you've got some more snow just on the bottom. So that's like a hill coming down into a valley there, into a dip, and then you've got snow coming up. So I've just sketched in like this. This is going to be the sky, and like I said, I don't want to make it dead bright, and I want to get a feeling of cloud-filled sky. So it's going to be darker here, sense of brightness around this area here, but not too much. If it gets over exaggerated, it might be just too bright. So I'm going to start with, I don't know what I'm going to start with. I'm going to start with a darkish blue, just to get some colour on in the background. So I'm just going to put this through here. Can you see that? Yeah, just through there down to where the building is, and I'm going into the building because I want to make that a silhouette after it. So I'm just scrumbling this colour in, and I'll take it down there, and then I'll take it up to this top angle here. I'll come, can you see right up there? I'll just lower the easel a bit for you so that you can see. There you go, that's the top of the picture there, so you can see that into there. So the same, this really sort of strong violety type blue, just loose, just to get an undertone. And I think you want a little sense of it. This is going to be a snow covered hill, so I want a little sense of the bluiness just above it, just coming along there like that. So just to emphasize the sort of the white of the snow. I'm not going to make the snow bright white. It's going to be sort of toned down, otherwise it'll be too much. So I'm just going to drift that slightly up into there, like that, and then I can pull colours down into it. So I'm pressing on a bit more there because I don't want any of the background paper to show through too much there. So I'm pressing on just above the snow line with this pastel. You can see it getting flatter at the edges. And then I'm going to blend colours into that. We'll do all this in today. We'll get this all done in one sort of day. So I'm going to put a bit more of that stronger colour just over here behind the barns. And what I'll do when I do the snow is I'll drag some of this same colouring down into this snow so that it's not, bright white. So it's sort of continuing the same theme around. So I've got that sort of sense of later sky. I'm going to put a lighter colour into it so it's not too bright, but I just wanted to get that sense of lighter sky. So I'm just going to get a little bit of these violety colours. These are the blue earth ones. Oh, it's quite strong. That might be just too strong. I'm just going to rub that out a little bit. I'm just going to go for a slightly darker colour. I don't want it to be too bright. I said just a little sense of pink into it. I don't like rubbing colour. I think I'm going to leave them colours alone. I'm just going to get a paler blue than what I used because I don't want a pinky feel. So I've just got a slightly paler. Lad. I'll go back to the darker blue. I'm going back to the blue I used just to get it's spreading that. So I'm just blending it in a little bit more with the darker blue because I think I just lost it a little bit with it. I don't want pinky in it. We don't like pinks, do we? So just blending that in a little bit like that, and then I'm going to blend the sky. I want it to be darker up here, so it's not going to be too strong. So I'm going to grade off up this top area, grade off a bit so it feels like a heavy cloud. So I just want to get a little bit more grade feel to this. So I've got just another pastel here, sort of a grade off one. And I'm just going to push this into it a bit. And then I'm going to go over it harder with the blue. You probably can't see it so well because of that flash of light, but I can't do anything about that. Lynn won't let me put curtains up. So this is sort of an umber, sort of a greyish umber. So I'm just putting that in lightly, just scrumbling it over. Then I'm going to go back into it with the blue to make it stronger. I'm just going to drag the umber down into the blue ever so softly and just lift it harder up. So go down, whenever you put the building on a roof, go down through it. Don't leave a halo around it. So sort of lose the building a little bit and just blend this umber down into that blue so that it's just catching in a little bit and taking the brightness out of it a little bit. Just very soft touching. Just, I mean, a lot of people use fingers, but I don't like blending. I don't like blending it all. I like the colour to stay with bits showing through, so you get that sort of sense of well, like bits going showing through. I don't like to blend it all in. Take that across there, and I'll take this up into here. But I'm going to add some pinks in so it's not just greys and blues. So I'm going to add a little sense of colour in. The camera's getting in my way a bit. I'll have to stretch my arm right out. I'm just dragging it, and this is how I like to do pastels, dragging colour over colour and then gradually filling it in so that bits of this show through, even bits of the paper show through. So you're just sort of getting that blending of greys. So I've got that coming across there. So I need to get a bit more blue back into this, not bright blue, darker, and then build up the level of the sky. So I'm just going to go in with a darker blue, but duller, not duller, not bright. That's better. And just drift it over here. They're very soft, these chalks, so you're just sort of leveling it up and just allowing little bits of the undercolour to show through. I might have to tone that down. It might be just a bit too bright for what I want, but I'll just get started. I like this sense of greyed umbery feel down here. So I'll just... The sky wants to be darker here, as though it's coming from a winter area here to a lighter sense just over here. So I don't want to make it too dark over there. I'm just going to scrumble a little bit in. Just a little bit in. And then I'm going to go paler onto here. So I'm going back to the umber I use here and just dragging it in. So it's levels. So you've got a sense of blue coming through, sense of the paper coming through, a little bit of this grey over here. What you're trying to achieve is a winter's evening where the sky is darkening over to the left and the last rays of the evening are coming over this dale over here. Actually, this is a photograph I found. It's not our dales. It's more over the moors going over to the other side to where the cakes are. What do you call the cakes? I'm forgetting. My brain's gone. I'll think of it. We went there when we had the caravan a few years back, quite a few years back. Right, so can you see that sort of thing? Obviously you've got dark here at the moment, but that's the type of sky I've got. And edges, there's edges here with dark, because obviously we put a mount round this to crop it down. So I'm just going to put a bit more over to here. Coming into here. And just get these clouds toned down. And into this side I'm going to add more light. I'm going to add more pinks, but I'm just trying to get a sense of the last vestiges, that's a canny word, last vestiges of cloud. What's Alison saying? Sorry. Bakewell, yes, I couldn't get the name of the cakes into my head. Yes, when we were over there before. So you're over that area. So I'm just lightly putting this in, but I'm going to lighten through this. I'm going to leave that alone because it's quite fine for what I want, but I want to get this sense of light into the sky now. So we're going to start adding in pinks, etc. So I've got on the Terry Ludwig, I've got a nice sort of very light pinkish feel. Yeah, so I'm just going to drag little patches of that and into this sky, just in sort of a dusty feel. So it feels like the clouds are just sort of moving a little bit of light coming into it, and just create this sort of pinky feel to the sky. Not too bright, I don't want it dead bright, and I'll fetch that down through here. I'm going to keep adding layers over top of layers until I get the feeling I want. So you'll see part of this coming through and part of it will get hidden. So it won't be too bright. That just wants to drift out over to there a bit. Into there, and then coming down and starting to fetch some more sort of very pale blues in. So I'm going to go back to the Ludwig, to the Blue Earth ones, and get these. These are so soft, can you see? Just touching the source. By the way as well, if you're picking up, because quite a lot of my pastels are mucky in the box, have a roll of paper or something and just rub the pastel onto it to take any fingerprints or muck out of it. So this is going to come in lighter, just through here. I'm just putting it on loose at the moment. I'm going to really work the colours in. I'm going to come down and blend that just in amongst this blues here. Take a little bit of it just softly up into that pink cloud, so it's just creating a little bit of blur into it. Actually, all the way, what you're trying to do is get a feeling of colours laid underneath each other. I'm getting that through. Now I need to get some ochre into there. So I need to get a very pale ochre into there. So I'm going into the Turry Ludwig ones. That's not right, that's too pink. I'll try that one. This is a Turry Ludwig. It might look bright. It is bright, but we can just build up these levels. And this light wants to sort of come behind these barns a little bit over here, these buildings. So it wants to be coming out across there. It's too bright that I'm going to tone it down, but you'll see a bit of the colour come. So behind this farmhouse here, you just want that light to come through and just dust it down into the blue. I'm going to go lift the blues back up. All of it's going to be just lifted up and blended so that it's not totally bright. I mean, it's nice to have a sunset that's bright, but I don't want it to be too bright. So I'm just literally, I keep using the word literally, I'm just going in and just creating a little sense of light. This is the area where the sun is sort of, the evening sky is going down. There's no sun, and you want to drift some of that just up into your pinks and browns that you had up there, just a little drifting up. You could blend it with your fingers, but to be quite honest, it'll just look too soft. You want a feeling of vibrancy and movement, so I don't like blending with my fingers. I used to blend, if I was doing portraits on pastel, I would blend the skin tones in a little bit. But here I'm just trying to get this evening feel. Now all of that is brighter than I want, but I'm going to tone it down by just dragging the blues over it very lightly, very softly into it. Just wipe that out. Just sometimes you when you're doing it, I use the flat of the chalk, but sometimes you end up hitting with an edge and you just got to sort of tease it off. So I want that little bit of light just to come through here, just very lightly scrumbled over that darker bit we did, so it's just framing the building a little bit, the dark silhouette of the building. So it's just ever so lightly just touching in. It looks quite strong, that's nice, like, it looks all right. So just all you're doing now is very softly just dusting. So you're just you're creating a little bit of dusting into the clouds, so it's not just one sort of colour. I'm hardly touching the paper, I'm just very lightly scrumbling into that colour and just creating a little sense of light just below the cloud level. And you see that, just that little sense of the dark cloud here and just a little feeling of light just coming through the back. And then we need to blend this in more here. So in fact you can do a little bit of that just up to there. You don't want a lot, and you can't even hear the pastel on. I'm just dusting. These pastels are so. You see how mucky that's got now. So you can see it's got sort of mucky. So just wipe it on the paper and get a clean edge again. Because when you're doing this dusting, you're actually picking off pastel below it as well. So you just end up creating a little bit darker edge under your pastel. So just that little sense of light there. Like that. And now I'm going to come in with the blue again and just try and blend it in so it's not too solid. So I'm going to get a bit of the violet blues, just a bit darker, and just That's better. Just blend it in. It's very soft, this. This is the Blue Earth ones. Very soft. And I'm just pushing them into the yellows, but not losing the yellow. It's not yellow, it's more like an ochre. So I'm just blending them in. And if you get a bit of too dark where the paper's showing through, just push a corner into it and just lose it a bit. And just tone that down into the blue. So you're toning the blue down and you're toning the ochre down with this sort of pinky violety colour, which I love these pinky violety colours. So you're just toning it down and just blending it up and just creating that blue wants to get lost a bit. It's just too strong, that. You just want a hint of the sky just going below the horizon. And like I say, we'll put this white snow hill in, but it won't be white. You don't want bright white for this distant field. It wants to fit. The camera is actually in my road. I'm leaning against the camera. I end up with a twisted body. So can you see? And even these yellows here, just little bits of the pinks. This violety type, but it's very pale. What these Blue Earth ones are, is this company makes sets of colours. So you've got the 4 colours there, going from the darkest part of each colour through the range. That's sort of your middle. That's your proper range of colour of tint. That's darker pigment in, and that's lighter. So you've got 4 levels, and they do the same with the greens, the reds, etc. But you're looking at about 80 quid, 85 quid, something for a box like that. But that's because it's pure paint, pure pigment, and it just needs a slight dusting. So I'm just scrumbling very lightly, and when you scrumble lightly, you just dust it in, and you get a little sense of cloud just moving up. And then you can just touch the edges if you want. If you think it's too strong, just touch the edges. So just dusting over this light cloud. I don't want it to be bright. I want you to be able to see it through the cloud, but I don't want it to be jumping out too bright. So in there, and once you've got the land in, you can always come back into the sky if necessary. That's the beauty of pastels. You can come back in and just drag another pastel through it. So I'm just drifting this over the yellow ochres, over the sky very, very lightly in the top, creating this sort of glow. Creating this glow and toning the blues down, but still leaving the blues just as a tint, just as a little hint. So rather than a massive strong cloud, you're just getting that sense of light. And I want that sense of light to be behind these buildings. I want these buildings to jump out, like be a silhouette, and then a white snow on the top of them. So I think I'm quite happy with the sky like that. Like I said, you could come back in and just dust little bits in. Hiya, you all right? Oh, hiya, how you diddling? You all right? Long time no see.
Well, been waiting for the frame.
Oh, you're getting something done down there, are you?
All these original regali.
Yeah, everything will be as original, even me.
Absolutely. What do you think of that Bob Ross chap? You ever watch him?
No, I know what you mean, but I've never
Pretty
seen.
good fella.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm live, mine, so watch what you're saying. No, you're all right. I'm just telling you that I'm live. I'm actually on live, so just watch your language, because I know what you like. Yeah. So right. So I've got the sky in where I want it. Really, just this sort of glow. Can you see? As though the building's on fire a bit. But I'm just going to touch in. I'm just going to touch in a little bit with the lighter ochre, so that there's no paper showing through. Yeah, the wolf's done with pastel pencils. This is pastels I'm doing here now. Right, so I don't want the building to look on fire. I just want a sense of glow of light. So I've got the yellow back, and I'm just drifting little patches in, just to pick up light. So you've got this sense of glow in that back sky. So I think I've achieved there that sense of glow. I'll just rub that in with my finger because it's just too bright. And I'm going to put the snow line in. And like I said, the snow line's not going to be strong, but what I'm going to do before I put the snow line in is put the land in, the dark land in, and then I can drag the snow over it. So I'm going to put dark areas into there. So this is going to be greys and ochres down here, and then I'll drag the snow over into it. They're my favourites, them two over there. Them two canvases on the wall as well. They're acrylics. Right, so what we want over here is the blur of land in the background, and it wants to be darker down here, but then you want the snow above it. So get a brown, a darkish brown. I'll find a darkish brown. Browns is not a thing I have much. So I've got a sort of a brown here, and I'm going to drag in some land into here. The beauty of this using this paper is some of it won't get covered, and the paper will look darker. So you don't have to cover the whole area. So I'm just dragging some feeling of little patches of land down into the valley, just with the brown. And I'll put some sharper edges in to suggest bits of valley, bits of growth and stuff into there. There'll be trees down into there. So just dragging it in, nothing strong. And then I'm going to get a really darker blue. A really darker blue. I've only got a little bit of it, and just put some bits into that. That's maybe too strong, it's too bright that, but I'm just putting some little bits in down to the edge, just to create, and you sort of drift it downwards as though this valley is going away over to there. So you're sort of drifting colours as though you've got little bits of foliage and even probably bits of farmhouses, etc., coming down there. So you're just dragging that in like that through there. That's fine. And now we need to create some. There's a hill in the background which is white or covered in snow, but like I said, we don't want a bright white for the snow. So got a very light. See you later. Bye. Watch how you're going.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you very much. So I've got a very light, I don't want it to be bright white, I'll just test it. So I want this to be just below the sky, this snowy hill. There you go. And this isn't white, it's a very pale version of the violet from the blue earth. I'm just using the flat of the pencil, of the pastel, just to create that distance. And I'm going to blur it in a little bit because I don't want it to stand out too much. And that goes sort of just off to where the little part of the farmhouse building is. So I'm just going to tone that down with a slightly darker version of a more bluer feel to it, just to take the sting out of it a bit. So this is a stronger bluey violet, and I'm just putting little bits in. The whole idea is this landscape here should blur into the sky rather than being a hard white line. Somebody's saying something. Jennifer, morning Jennifer, you're late, you've been drawing and forgot the time. I'll let you off. Right, so can you see it? It's a violet, and I'm just covering the snow a little bit. Not totally, leaving some bits showing through, so you get the sense. And you don't want a dark, see where the dark is there, you don't want that dark blue to be too strong, because it's just meant to be a blur, so you just drift over. You don't even need to have a hard line for this snow, this hill in the background. You want it to feel as though the cloud and the light are just blurring together. So you don't want too much contrast between the sky and this snowy covered hill. You just want that into there like that. Now, to get the feeling of broken land down here, we need to drag in some snow through it as though it's broken, as though there's foliage in. But you don't want it to be bright. So you want a sort of I've got a nice, that's a bit too strong. Got a nice sort of bluey grey here in the Terry Ludwigs. So I'm just going to, and I'm not going to drag it parallel, I'm going to drag it longwise so it doesn't thicken out too much. I'm going to drag it like that, and I'm just going to drag bits through and down and let this hill just develop bits of darkness. So there's those snow in the valleys and edges, so it's just dragged in little clumps. And you can even, doing it that way, you can even sort of create the fact that there might be buildings in the background there. So buildings down in this hill. So you're just dragging it down like this. Now you need to leave it darker down here so this snow here takes effect. So you can just drag a few little bits in here and there. I'm just using the corner, the edges, so that it doesn't become too thick. So I'm just using the corner. And some of the darker blues are showing through here and there. Just little touches, so you're just creating that drift of landscape coming down to the edge there. That's all right. And then you can get just a little patch of lighter colour, not bright white. This is sort of a lighter ochre altogether, and you can just touch in some little sharper bits here and there, just to create the feeling that you can actually see some roofs or whatever in the distance. If they jump out too much when you're finished, you can rub them in a little bit, but I just want, the lights are coming on. It's getting dark and the lights are coming on. So just these little final touches across there. Just little flicks to suggest bits of the snow are sparkling, you know, on the sky. So just little flicks. You can't overdo it. You don't want to overdo it. Just break some of that down into this hill a bit so that the landscape is just broken down into there, and maybe just a little bit of light on a couple of them hills in the background. That's all right. I think that might be too bright, so I'm just going to rub them with my finger a bit, because I think they might just be too catching the eye. You can always add them afterwards, little accents if necessary. So I'm just toning them down so they're not as bright. And what you've got now, you want a darker area in the bottom. This wants to be a darker, the bottom wants to be darker, so that you get that sense that it's dropping behind this snow hill here. So I'm just going to get a darker colouring here, sort of a dark browny purple. I'm just going to make sure that it's dark. You've got the paper, the actual colour of the paper is dark, so that works. But just getting it down into here and just putting a few marks to make sure that this landscape is darker. And you can drag a few little bits in for some of the broken bits of walling, etc. There is a farmhouse here, but I'm not really bothered about it. So I'm just dragging some darker little, you can't see it that much, but it's there. When you put the white on, you'll see it. So I'm just dragging some little accents of colour into there, and then I'm going to put the white coming around there. So I'm going to go for the white, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to use pure white. I'm just going to use a very pale blue. If I can find a very pale blue. Start with the darker colours, and then you can go over it. So I've got a sort of a darker blue, and I'm just going to rough in where I want that snow line to be. And that snow line wants to go up and come under that farmhouse there, like that. So that wants to go up there. And leave the dark here, just leave it dark here. And just fetch this snow line down. And as you're getting down to this edge, I'm having to hide behind the camera here. As you're getting down here, just leave broken patches. Get a clean line for the hill, but down here just leave broken patches of land into the valley. And this comes down to sort of the top of the wall. So this is the wall here, top of the wall going up. down into here like that. Like I say, leave broken patches, so you suggest foliage, bracken, etc., little bits of walls, etc., into there. That's why Lynn wants that plastic down. I've just lost that pastel. I'll have to find it before I walk over it. Right, and now you can start lightening that up. So I've got a really sort of, it's not white, but it's a very pale bluey, on the pale side of the blue earth ones. So it's a paler vision of them. So I got that, and get a clean edge. In fact, I want it to be a bit bluer rather than, just want a bit more blue into that rather than it being too pinky. Right there. Just drag that over like that. So you're making this bank. So this wants to come out from that building as though it's coming out level a bit, and then drifting away down the valley. Like that down there. Get a hard edge. Well, sorry, I've just knocked the camera a bit. I'm actually leaning past the camera. Get a hard edge for the separation between that hill in the background and this snow. You're gonna pull into this snow. It's not just gonna stay dull. It wants to look like snow, so it wants to be brighter here and there. You can actually use the same colouring just under where the wall's going to be. So where the wall was going to be. So got that. Now you need to start lighting that up a bit. It doesn't want to be white. It wants to have a sense of a little bit of colour, as though it's lit up by the evening sky. Harder lines here and there. Hey. Like I say, a little bit of tissue just to clean the chalk at the edges. Using sharper edges here and there just to create a really sharp feel to that. And now I'm going to go in with a stronger colouring. Oh, the microphone's got tangled up. Going with a stronger colouring here and there. So I'm going to get a really sort of whiter blue, a whiter feel of blue now. Do you know me? Whites are sort of lost off a little bit. That's too ochre-y. That's pinky, I think. Yeah, it's pinky. It's all right, because you want just a little sense of. What I try and do on these type of pictures is create the same sort of bits of the same colouring here and there, so it's not just. What you don't want is a bright white snow scene down here. So you get little bits of colour into it, so that you get a sense of the light of the sky into it. So just don't be frightened of getting other bits of colour into this snow. It doesn't want to be just bright white. Right under the building there. That's sort of going across the wall there under the building like that, and up there. I'm going to just tone them down. They're just a bit too strong them, so I'm just going to put a bit of colour into them so they're not as strong. So I'm just going to get a little bit of ochre, a little bit of brown here and there, very strong, and just go into them. That's too strong, too bright. Don't want bright, just a bit duller brown. And just a few touches here and there just to create that feeling of maybe a wall. That's just too bright, that. maybe a feeling of a wall just down there, and that, where that house is, just a sort of a touch to suggest an edge just there. I'm just going to get an edge onto that white at the top. So I'm just going to get a cleaner edge up there. Drag that down in through there, and a few touches here and there, so it feels as though it's getting nearer to you, and you start to see things down here. So just into there like that. What we want now is these buildings put in, and then the wall, and then the snow behind. So the buildings, I just want a silhouette of the building. You've already got a silhouette, but I want it shaped, edged, and then some snow on the roofs. So I'll just get a bit of pastel. I want dark, so I don't want to make this black, but I want it dark. So I'm just going to get, do you know, I don't have such a thing as a black pastel or a dark pastel. Got a sharper brown here. I'm just going to draw in the edges of that building. It comes up to there like that. This is sort of like a gable end. Just get the edges first. You don't need to blacken it all out because you've got dark paper underneath. You just want to build up the line. So it's dark across there, and it comes down to an edge there like that, and then that's the edge of the building. So you're just making this farmhouse stand out. Then there's a little outbuilding just there. And then you, wait a second, just get that sharper. Then you've got a little building just here. And just underneath to it. So you've got that building there. And you want this dark to continue along the skyline. So that wants to be dark there, strong, as though there's little bits and things or walls or whatever in front of the sky. You don't want this to blend this in. You want a silhouette against it. So where we sort of blended the hill in the background in, here we're creating a harder lines here and there to suggest a little bit of building. Even I'll just put a chimney onto that. Right, so that comes down there like that. So that's the end of that building, and then there's an outbuilding just here, like joined onto that. Just put it in strong like that, and then you've got the smaller one just in front of that. So, and it wants to come just above the skyline, above the hill line there. So just get that in stronger, like that. Down there. This is a hard pastel. This isn't soft. This is rock hard pastel. You could use, if you wanted black, you could use charcoal, but I don't want it to be black. This is really hard pastel, just to give me the silhouette I'm looking for. Like that. I might just lighten that patch up there across it. So I'm just going to lighten the snow up a little bit, just there. So there's a definite sense of silhouette. So I'm just coming down there and just trimming a little bit of snow. I'll blend it in because I don't want it to be too prominent. Right, so I've got the farmhouse. What I've got to do now is add some colour into the farmhouse. We don't want it to be just a black feeling. There are some windows in. So get various darks. So I'm just going to get a darkish olivey colour and just put some sense of light into parts of it down here. So I'm just going to drag in as though you can see little bits of texture into that. So there's just warmer parts here and there. You've got to blend it in so the outline you don't have an outline. So I need to sort of get that dark again that I used and just pull some of the outline down into it so it's not What you don't want is a colour with the outline right round it, so you're just pulling this colour in like this. This is the hard dark one, just pulling down and creating some breaks in amongst them lines like that. So harder edges all round. Harder edges in here, harder edges underneath, but dragging them down. And then there's a harder edge there because there's a roof there. And we've got some windows, etc. Just put them in dark first, just get a darkness to them, and then we'll add a little bit of light into them. So there's a one going off to the side there. Don't make them too prominent. You don't want it dead prominent. I don't think there's anything on there, but you just need to break these darks in amongst the sort of softer colour put, so that you don't have this outline round them. So pull the darks down into them. You want a hard edge for the top, the silhouette, like that, but you want to also pull that dark down in. Just rub it in with your finger a bit. I'm not after a lot of detail under these, I just want them to feel silhouetted. You can suggest some doors, suggest some barn doors here and there, make it a bit dark. It doesn't have to look exactly like the picture. In there. Right, we need snow on the top of that. So you want snow, but again you don't want bright white, so get just a nice sort of pale blue, there you go, very pale, and just draw in the snow. So you want a line across. I might make it brighter because it might be just a bit too dark, but nice clean line. You can also darken the line underneath afterwards. So you're going down for your roof, clean line across the top. I may put a bit of white into this just to lift it a bit. That's sort of the roof of the barn coming down through, of the building, actually not a barn, coming down through there like that. And I will put a little touch of white in, but again I don't want it to be too prominent. It could actually be just a little bit deeper, I think. And then you've got some snow just laid on the top of that edge there, like that, just catching the eye, and you've got snow laid on the top of that. Going away like that, and that sort of comes down and sits just slightly in front of that building there, and you can put some little sense of snow on that edge and a little sense on there. Let's take that up. I'm just going to emphasize the dark underneath again so it tidies the edge up. Down there. I think they're all right. Just a little touch of the edges, just so you sharpen the edges up a little bit. Like that. And then I'm going to put a bit more white, but not pure white, into these buildings. So I'm getting a lighter, it's not white, it's blue, but it's just lighter, and I'm just going to get an emphasis across the top edge a bit. And just a few flicks here and there, just to make it as though you've got shadows and light hitting it. I think that's all right. That, because it's standing out. I don't want to, but this one wants to be whiter across the top. Somebody coming up. Hiya, you all right? No. It's a canny walk up them stairs. The steps are actually deeper than most steps. That's why it's harder to get up and down them. Right, so I'm on live as well. It's all right. You're all right. I'm just warning you. So yeah. So get that little bit of brightness onto the top, just so it catches the light a little bit. think that's all right. I'm not too, I don't want to put any white down the edge, even though you might have snow down the edge. I don't want to put any white down there. I just want it to look farmhousey. So I'm quite happy with just that. I'm just going to darken underneath there a bit, just to give an edge to the roof, and a little bit under there. And then I'm going to put the sense of some windows. I actually think I think it's all right. I'm going to raise the snow level up so there's not as much barn. So I'm just going to put a bit of ochre in, light ochre, just to suggest some windows, and there might be some lights on. So just 1 or 2 flicks into there like that, just to sort of create the illusion of lights into the windows. We'll put one there. I think that's fine. I don't want to go too much to it. But what I do want to do is raise the snow level up a little bit. And I don't want it to be just all white, so I'm going to put broken colour into it, and then drag the snow over it. So we'll go with a pale blue through here, and just raise this snow level up through here. So it wants to come right in front of that building like that, and through this building. So and joins up with this, joins up through there like that. So you sort of separate, you've isolated them buildings a little bit. The wall wants to come round and curve up towards it, but you just want to isolate them a little bit. So that will be fine there. So I'm going to put the wall in, and like I said, because I keep forgetting where I'm putting the blues. Because you've got a dark paper, you don't need to fill the wall in totally. So I'm just going to I'm going to use a brown first, just to shape the top of the wall edges. So I've got a darker brown here. So the wall wants to look as though it's just going up there, like that, and just going in and down here. If I've got it, if there's a broken patch there, I'll just put more snow just into it. So you've got that wall coming down here like that, getting sort of broader as it comes down. And it can be like a stone wall, so you can have it, it doesn't have to be dead neat the top. So you're just coming down like that. And like I said, because you've got a darker paper, you don't have to fill the whole wall in. But you will want some darks as well as wanting some whites for bits of snow into the wall, as though it's catching some lighter patches of snow. So down there, that's the top of your wall. Darken it out a bit. But like I said, you've got paper underneath, so you're fine with the paper underneath there like that. And it's got to get broader as it's coming down. And now you can get, I haven't got a black, like I said. I could use charcoal, but I'm not going to. Get a brown, this darker, harder stick, and just create some darker shapes here and there, as though you're just breaking the surface of the top of the wall up a little bit, and some harder lines in here. All the pictures will be original ones. You know, downstairs is prints, but it'll be as the original stuff. So getting some hard edges in there, and then I'll put some snow on the top, as though there's some snow accumulating on top of the wall, and just break it up. You're not trying to make anything. I don't intend painting every brick into this. It's got to get thinner as it's going up, because it's going away into the distance, and it just sort of turns into that barn like that. And then just get to that. I'll put a bit of white over there. That's just a bit too high, that. But just harder lines like this, and just make it stronger down here. In fact, fetch some dark. This is a strong, hard dark. Fetch some down into where the snow's going to be, so it looks as though you can put snow drifting up afterwards, whereas if you don't have the dark behind it, you can't do that. So you've got to create this, and I'm just dragging the pastel stick any which way but loose, really, just to create this. And it wants to be deeper down here. It's got to feel as though it's getting wider. some hard edges here and there. Down here. There's coffees if you want a coffee or anything.
It's amazing to watch.
That's a bit dark, that screen, like really. There's coffees over there if you want coffee or tea. So it's getting darker down here, building it up, and I'm going to put some snow, like drops of snow onto the top and into the edges. But you've got to fetch this down through here, getting darker like that. Sharpen up some of the top edges. Sharpen some of the top edges of the stone wall. So it looks like dry walling. That's what you want to do. Obviously you don't see it so built up there, but as you're getting nearer to you should see a little sense of looser stones, so it's not just a hard line, so a little sense of different stones coming down. So you've got these broken edges, and then we'll put some white onto it. Like I say, I want the wall to get deeper just about here. And you can crop the picture. Once you've got the picture done, I'm going to drag snow right down, but once you've got the picture done, then you can crop it with a mount as and where you want. So some strong hard edges here and there. Just little flicks just to catch the eye. So the wall looks, in fact, I think on that wall, looking at it, it has some poles down it, so you could actually just pull some little bits of poles down here and there, just odd flick here and there, just as though there's something up against the wall. Strong down there, like that. I'm just going to lose that darker patch just there. It's just a bit too strong, it's just a bit too big, so I'm just going to drag a little bit of soft pastel into there just to tone that down like that. So you lose that. So what you want now is some snow on there, and you could probably, if you want, you can probably use a white edge, but not all over, not too much. So just a little dot of snow here and there like that, just catching. Just sort of resting on the top of that wall a little bit. And as you get farther back, you'd see odd bits, but you wouldn't see it too strong. You'll just see little flicks here and there, but just be careful that you don't make the wall too big. And you want some, I would get a more bluer colour to it. You want some, I'm just finding my blues. You want some snow sort of sitting on the wall a little bit. I'm just putting it in and just blending it a little bit because it's just too hard, the line. So just little patches of snow onto these walls. I'm going to make them darker. That's just a bit too bright. I don't want them to jump out so much, so I'm just going to darken them patches of snow out with a little bit of blue into them, so they're not as white. You don't want them to be jumping out. You just want a feeling of snow in shadow resting on some of the stones here and there. Like that. And what we want now is shadow in under the wall. But we want snow drifting up the wall, but we don't want it to be bright. And we also want a sense of broken bits, as though there's bits of grasses and twigs here and there. So you can use a darker blue, slightly darker blue. I've got darker blues here and there. I don't want it to be bright darker blue though. I want it to be more grey. I'm finding some. Just have patience, folks. Got that much pastel all over, it's finding the right one. So what I'm going to do now is just come and draw the snow line as though it's drifting up the wall. So I'm coming down the wall, making sure that the wall gets thicker and broader, not thicker but broader as you're coming down. So it wants to look as though it's getting smaller, obviously, in the distance as it's coming down. So I'm just sort of lining some bits of blues up and drifting some up the wall so that it's sort of like drifted. So along here and then sort of drifted up a little bit into the wall. Sorry, I'll just check the comments because I don't know. No, that's all right. Oh, morning, Jane. You're late. You're late. I don't know how long you've been there because I haven't been watching the camera. So just drifting some bits up onto the wall surface like that, just catching the edge. And we'll make some of them just a bit bright, a bit bluer. That's just a bit too light. So I want a duller blue. So I'm just going to get a bit more ordinary blue and just scrumble in. This is blue, so I'm going to scrumble into them colours I've put so that I can just tone them down a bit. Like that, and then we'll lift colour into it and lights over it. So I just want it to be in shadow behind that wall. Otherwise the wall will jump out too much. So just a bit of shadow and thin it out up there. This is a strong blue, this, but you'll go over it. Wants to feel in shade coming down the edge there. That's it. So there's little bits. So what you're going to do is cover this snow and then add a little. You can actually get little bits of suggested grasses and bits of twigs by just dragging the pastel over it in a sort of a dotty area. And I'm going to build it up with darks and then lighten it up. Otherwise it'll just be too white. So I'm just going to get darker blues. Getting darker blues. I'm trying to find darker blues. There we go. I'm dragging the darker blues in, and I'm just going to drag now through this board. Just with a little bit of the blue, and push that towards this wall like that. So you're just pushing it towards the wall. You're going to go over it with lighter stuff, but you've just got to get that feeling of evening. So this is just a thin pastel like this. It's a harder pastel. It's not the soft Unison or the soft Terry Ludwig's. It's harder. Like I say, I won't go right the bottom. I'll cover in the bottom. Then you just crop it. So got that in like that. Now you've got to sort of blend these colours down. So you get your lighter whites that you want, softer now. Come from the top where you were going round the wall like that. And dust it down through here. Just dust it down so you get a sense of darker patches just below it. You can fill it in stronger over here, but near the wall, just sort of flick it in and create lights and darker patches near the wall. So you just get a sense. I'm going to use a hard line to create a few grasses, etc. after it's finished, but just sort of dusting that in near the edges and pulling it down. Right, harder up here now, stronger up here. Wants to be nice, clean line. You want it to be as though the snow has drifted up there onto the edges of the buildings and the wall. So a little bit of light here and there. And a hard edge. Just get that building light lit up a bit there. Right, so you've got that into there like that. And you want it to be a gradual drift down, so it wants to be darker over here, so you want a gradual feel of the snow coming down through here. And by just drifting with the side of the pen, you've got darks being left. Can you see natural darks just being left? Don't fill it all in with white. And trail this at an angle across, so it feels as though it's drifting towards that wall. And you leave the bits become bits of broken grasses, walls, etc. You don't want to just make this totally white out. And it's got to drift, so it's got to drift sort of that way. And now you can put a bit more pressure on in this sort of centre area here. So you can put a little bit more pressure on, just leaving bits of the other stuff showing through, so you've got a feeling of stones, grasses, etc. I'm going to tone this side down. Just going to blend that in lightly down there. I'm going to tone it down. I just want this to be lighter in this middle area. This isn't white, it's an off blue, very pale version of the blue. And coming into here. Just blend it into this down here, and then I'm going to just tone it down in patches down here. Like that. So I'm going to get a blue now. I might even get, actually that was a violet, a very pale violet. I might even get a darker version of that. This is the blue earth ones to put in over here. So this is a darker version of that slightly. And this is just blending up into here. So you get a feeling of a shadowy hillside just coming down through here. So it's not as bright as that colour. And I'll darken it even more down into the corner. So it just feels a gradual feeling of shadow off this side. As though the light isn't catching, the light up here isn't catching down here. So just put that down into there and blend that through just with the side of the brush. It's like a violet. I don't know if you can see it. It's very violety. But I'm going to drag ochres into it, etc. So it isn't just a white out. I'll take it right off the bottom, and then we just put a mount over to clear it. I'll tell you another thing about if you're mounting. I just got a little bit darker colouring just for in the corners. So I want more darker blue. So I'm just going to go for a darker blue. It's a bit too bright, that. I want a darker blue. Where's the darker blue? There. I'll tell you what, as well, when you're mounting pastels, what we do is, you've got a double mount that goes over the top of it, but behind the double mount we put a slimmer mount between it, so it acts as a cushion. So what you actually have is the picture, the pastel, a mount round it that doesn't necessarily have to be right up to the picture. Then the double mount over the top of that, so that you have a gap between the pastel and the mount. It means if any loose pastel does drop, in theory it drops behind your double mount, in theory. So this is a slightly darker blue. Can you see it just going on a little bit darker in places, especially over to this side here. And I'm just going to drag it in long strokes so that nothing's too bitty. You could, if you wanted, just drag straight parallel down. If you wanted to create a more sort of abstracty feel, I suppose, you could just drag down. But I just wanted to feel as though it's moving across the paper, that the valley is getting into shadow just over here. Just drifting into this blues bit. I don't want the blues to be too strong, so I'm just sort of softly scrumbling over. So you still have a feeling of shadow down here, but not not too bright of a blue, so it just wants to be toned down over here. Let's have a look at the picture. Where's the... Sorry, I'm just lost off with my picture there for some reason. Oh, there we are. I couldn't see it. Right, so down there, this is the... I'm trying to look at my picture as I'm doing it for you on the camera, so I'm seeing what you're seeing. I'm just going to try and zoom out a little bit so that you can... I don't know if I'm zoomed in. No, I'm not. I'll try and move this camera back out a bit in a minute so that you can see the whole picture, because you can't at the moment. Darker strokes. Right, what you need to do now is actually start. I'm going to pull the camera out. Just bear with me a second. I'm just going to unloosen it from the clamps and move it out a bit so that you can... I can't zoom out anymore. I'm just zooming, pulling this right back. Wait a second. I think I've zoomed out. I think I don't know, I'm tighten. What's our Lynn say? Lefty tighty, righty. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. According to our Lynn. I'm trying to tighten it up. There's a lot of camera equipment on this clamp, so I can't afford it to be loose. Right, I'm zooming back out, and then I'll curve the camera back in a bit. And then lower the canvas a little bit so that you can see the colouring. Just lower the canvas so you can see it all. I need to have the canvas taller than you think, because I know I'm smaller, but I need to have it so that I can so that I'm not bending down drawing. So there's the canvas lowered, so you can see the whole picture there for the moment. I'll zoom in afterwards, but that's the whole picture. So you've got the whole feel of the sky. I need to get this white in places. Even though I want it to be evening, I want some hard colour into parts of this. So I'm going to get a white pastel and just pull some whites down. So from the top, this is white, but it's not going on because I'm just sort of going over. You're getting still some of the original colours showing through. And just drift little bits up towards the wall, so you're just sort of just drifting little patches up towards the wall. I'm trying to not get in front of the camera for you. You're just going up in the wall, a touch of flicks here and there. Now you can make it brighter down this bottom area here, just here, like that. Brighter through there. Just need that edge tidying up on that barn building there. I want that building to look as though it's just going off behind the pitch of the roof, so I'll just tighten that up a bit. Just tapping white in places so that you're just getting just cover that a bit, that line. That's it. A little bit more white just into parts of that, just across the top of the wall. and little trails of white into there. Just little trails of white into the background. You can't see it so much, I'll zoom in a second, but you're just trying to create snow lines drifting down the picture. I'll zoom in a little bit, if I can get near the camera to zoom it in for you. All work in progress. Right, so I've zoomed in a bit so you can see the colouring. So you've got this there is what I was doing, was just drifting little patches of snow lines into the distant hills so that it feels as though you've got levels going along. You don't want too much down in that's meant to be dark going down into the valley, but you can put some little accents across the top, and you can probably put some more accents on the building here and there, just little flicks here and there. And then hard drifts up the wall like that. I want this white, I'll just fetch this white down, even though it might be cut off by a mount. It's like I said to you on the watercolours, go farther out than what you want the picture to be so that you don't leave a halo around. So go farther out, so when you put a mount over it, you're not leaving lines and shapes. Now just drag some little flicks of white up into the snow there, so it just feels as though it's drifting up the wall a little bit, like catching the light just a little bit. And then we want some twigs in. I'm not going to do too much over here. I want this just to be as though it's sort of a slight hill just here, just drifting down into it. I don't want white all over the whole picture, so I'm just sort of putting it in like that. And now I'm going to put some twigs in and bits here and there. So you want a sort of an ochre. Don't have a black, just get an ochre. So I've got an ochre here. Wait a second. I don't want it to be too bright either, so I'm just looking for a duller ochre colour. Maybe this. It's orangey, but it might be. And all you want is just, that's just a bit too, it's alright. Don't try draw lines in, just dot it in. I think it wants to be darker. It's too bright. I don't want it to be bright. So I've got a more duller one, and I'm just going to dot in some little bits of grasses here and there. Just little pastel pencils here and there, just little edges. You can make some more together as though there's patches. Do you know what I mean? As though there's patches of stuff here and there, and then just little touches with the snow, with the pencil. And I do like the idea of having some poles there, so I'm just going to make them poles just a little bit more prominent. Not necessarily when you get farther up, but just in the foreground. And one or two just down in the bottom. Blur them in a little bit and then just touch. And if you want some lighter patches of grasses, you can do. You've got to be careful that you don't overdo this too much. So I'm just going to get some lighter patches, but I'm not going to make them too strong. The little bits of very pale yellow ochre just touched into them darker patches, so that you get a sense of lighter grasses here and there. You can just put them through the snow. Just little touches like that here, where the darker patches are, just little touches of this light, so you feel as though you can see little bits of light. What you want in some places is a reflection down of that, so you can lighten some parts of that background up as though it's just catching the evening light coming down like that, and then just a few flicks, just dotting with the edge of the pastel. I wanted this to be white, I wanted this to be light, I want the whole idea to be a strong snow line down here rather than a bigger picture here. I wanted that to be up in the hill. I might just put a little bit of that yellow into there so it just feels as though it's just casting a little bit of yellowy light here and there. I'm just going to tidy that edge up with the darker stick because it just got a bit blurred there. And level that off. Just try the other camera, see what that looks like. I'll just move out the road a second. Can you see on the other camera there? That's sort of the overall picture. Now it's brighter than what that camera shows. This is a brighter camera, shows you a bit more of the brighter colours. I'll dull the colours down a bit with the thing. I'll just see if I can brighten it up a fraction for you. Bit more saturation in there. That's a bit better. So that's basically what it looks like on my palette, on my easel here. I'll just get a mount round and put it over. I've just got to be careful I don't walk away and pull the microphone out of me shirt, which I've done before. So I've got a mount here. It's not the right size, but it gives you an idea. So I've put the mount over like that. So you can see there now what a mount makes of the picture. Just gives you that. So you can crop it where you want. Do you know what I mean? You can fetch this farther. You could probably crop it as a portrait. It would probably go all right as a long abstract portrait like that. Varied, you can square it up, you can build it up. But I think that looks all right. It's got what I want, the feeling of distance on the hills without actually painting a white hill. What we've done is we've blended that hill in. It's got pinks in, it's got whites in, light ochres in, so and you've got a sense of blue sky just drifting behind it, and then a little bit of light. This is not white. This is just because it looks white because of the dark against it. So you've got that in bits of ochre white here, blues, greys, colour built in. If you made that just white, it would look awkward. I'll just drift a little bit more harder white, just in edges on the top, so it just feels as though there's light catching in places, and snow just clumped just in front of little shadowy hills here and there. But you can overdo it, you can carry on forever. I think I'm quite happy. I'll just level that snow line off there. And I didn't want to make the windows too bright. I didn't want bright windows or anything, so I've just left them as they are. If it was too bright, you could just put a darker edge line down them so it doesn't become too obvious. I think that's all I want. That's an abstracty feeling to it. So I think that's it. If you're happy enough with that, I think that's fine. You'll get the video. I can't see what's going on. I'll just have a quick look. You get the video. I don't know what comments we've got on there. Right. So if you're happy enough with that, that's the picture. Just lift the camera up a fraction. There you go. So that's sort of a winter's evening, but not bright. I didn't want a bright sunset. I wanted a wintry cloud just filling in. So getting lighter here. I don't know if Alison's still listening or whether a train's actually got into London at the moment. So that's fine. That's exactly what I want. And you can crop it wherever you want with your mount. So whenever you're doing something like a pastel or whatever, do it bigger, especially if you're doing this type, do it bigger and always take it farther out than you want. Then you can fetch a crop in, a mount in, and crop it as you wish. So I've got the poppy to send up to you as well. I'll get that this weekend and this. I've got to edit them and cut out all this talky crappy stuff. I didn't say crappy. Right, so if you're happy enough with that, I'll clean up. I haven't got as much dust on the floor, but I daren't walk away from this corner till I check my shoes in case I've got pastel on them. Right, so I shall... Oh, by the way, I'll send you a message. I won't be doing Monday morning. I know quite a lot of you aren't here Monday, but because of that, it is bank holiday, we're going up to see our grandson on the morning, so I'll work another day out for you and we'll get that sorted. But I'll send you a message. So I'll send you the video of this over the weekend, probably after I've edited it. It might be later, but you'll get... I've done the poppy one, so you'll get the poppy one. Right, I'm just see if anybody has got any more comments. No, I think people are... Oh, wait a sec, there are comments. Ken, I'm very happy with... I can't see. You know what, Ken? I'm going to have to put my glasses on to see what... I daren't go near the laptop because I get Oh, Alison's still on the train. Ken, very happy with mine, thank you, good. Alison looks great, yeah. I'll put my glasses back on because I can't see the computer. So it's fine, and it's like I say, it's very, it's not, I haven't put detail in, it's all just lines. It's when you get back off it, it looks like a hill in the background, and it looks like a farmhouse in the background, and snow down here. I shouldn't have touched that. Right, so I'm going to leave it. I'll leave you back with a view of it as it is. So that's it as it is. So I shall see you. I'm looking at you, but you can't see me. I'll see you on whenever. It'll not be Monday, but I will message you so you know when I'm doing. But you'll get the video of all this. So I think I've got what I wanted: an evening feel to a winter's evening, but not a sunset. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Ken. So I don't know whether Anne's still here or whether the people came to... got paint all over, look at the pastel all over. Whether the people came to put a new line in. Okay, folks, I'm going to switch off now if I can. I've got chalk all over the mouse and the pad. I'm going to switch off if I can figure out how the heck to switch off. Oh, I see it there now. Right. Bye.